everyone, once again. I don't know why I do
History
is made every day. Unfortunately, we're living right through a lot of historical events right now, but we really wish we weren't.
Oh, God, why?
Anyway, it's kind of crazy to think about how little people understood radioactivity and radiation back then, and how they didn't realize how much damage it could do.
There's a very easy way to figure out exactly how little they understood, and that's take a Geiger counter to France.
Well, funny enough, France did do even more testing in nuclear bombs than the United States.
Yeah, that's why I said take a Geiger counter there. It's going to go off like crazy.
It's still crazy.
They're putting that shit in watches.
Yeah, and they also wanted to make, remember the idea of glow-in-the-dark pets? That was a thing at a time. They wanted to make, like, glow-in-the-dark guinea pigs. It's,
Europeans are weird. They snort mummies, and they,
That's mostly the British, but yeah.
There's another thing that's on the tip of my tongue. Well, I'll let you know if it comes back to me.
Anyway.
Finally got around to doing that video on that time America launched a manhole cover in outer space with a nuclear bomb, and it turns out that's actually the lesser of two interesting parts of this story, because America also dropped a nuclear bomb on top of 6 people to prove that nukes were safe.
What?
Today we're talking about Operation
This is going to be
Plumbob.
insane.
The professional way to explain it would be to say that it is a bunch of nuclear testing that was carried out by the United States government in the late 1950s in the deserts of Nevada.
Okay.
However,
Yeah, we
reality
did that a
is
lot in
more akin to
Nevada.
the United States government dicking off with nuclear warheads in the desert, like they're a bunch of rednecks on 4th of July with fireworks.
Yeah, this is also, I believe, I think this came after, obviously, because, as you guys probably know, the different branches of the military love to compete against one another for some reason. Basically,
Clout, mostly.
it's basically they didn't want to share stuff. It was weird. Like the Navy competing with the Air Force and the Army competing with the Navy, and well, that's the reason we got the Davy Crockett. Do you know what the Davy Crockett is?
Handheld nuclear device.
Yep. It only needed 2 soldiers to launch, but the main problem was...
We get that number down to 1. The 1 doesn't need to survive. He just needs to carry it.
No, here's the thing. I think they actually had to cancel it because it could fire long enough to get out of the blast range and, shockwave range. It couldn't get out of the radiation range. Yeah.
Wow, it turns out you make a devastating enough weapon, you can't get out of the affected area.
Yeah, in time. But yeah.
Who the fucking thunk?
And yeah, they did this a lot in Nevada because, the Sierra Desert. So there's nothing out there.
But first, a word from our sponsor.
That was Joe Dirt.
Yeah. Is this my Father's Day present?
Well, I do have a surprise for you.
What's that?
Our credit cards are maxed out. I'm gonna need you to fix it. I'd like to go shopping.
Well then.
This video is brought to you by Henson's Shaving. Okay, here's the deal. Henson's is a family-owned machine shop that makes parts for the aerospace industry. There's literally parts on the Mars rover that these guys made, and one day they woke up and like, hey, we're just going to make the most precise safety razor on the market. And this is it. This is all they sell. It comes in aluminum or titanium. If you want to pay extra, it comes with a little stand. I do need a new razor. I won't be wrong. They also sell the razor blades, so you have a one-stop shop.
The hair on my ears is getting a little too long.
Because this thing will take any shaving razor blade on the market. You don't have to buy their proprietary.
Just go out with a hobby knife.
You don't have to sign up for their monthly.
For that, I mean my wolf ears, for people who don't realize.
Time, and then you can put any 5-cent razor in it and shave for the rest of your life. So the product itself is fantastic, but more importantly, the company is awesome because every time a YouTuber does an ad like this, they get sent a little media packet full of talking points, what to say, what not to say, and so on. Now,
yeah, that does happen.
This, but the brief that I got for Henson's basically said there is no script, do whatever you want, we trust you.
Really?
So in the first paragraph, they said this.
That's surprising.
Quote, if for whatever reason you don't get a good shave with our product, product, please let us know. If we can't help you, then
That
don't endorse us.
is
We think we've made one of the
an
very
actually
best
pretty
razors
good
in the
commitment
world.
to
If you
quality.
disagree, we'd rather not ask you for a non-genuine endorsement.
Yeah.
So the razor's great, and this is the type of company that you
That's
actually want to give your
surprising.
money to. I'm going to have a link for them down below. Let's get back to the video.
Very
All right,
surprising.
Operation Plumbob takes place in 1957. There was a total of 29 nuclear explosions, and they were testing all kinds of different stuff.
Okay.
They had biomedical testing going on with pigs, seeing how
Of course.
radiation affected them and at what distance. Then they were covering the pigs with blankets, seeing what materials blocked the radiation, what materials didn't. They also conducted
Okay.
experiments on 18,000 U.S. service members, basically having them dig a trench off in the distance
yeah.
and hide in it while they detonate.
I did actually hear about this a bit, where, yeah, they basically just wanted to see how it affected humans. So, yeah, they were quite literally, we were testing every possible effect of radiation on the human body and everything. Which, I a little bit, some of this is important to know. But, putting that many people, yeah, I feel...
Yep, you just need to plop people in front of various things. Like, oh, we don't know that the garbage bags won't block the radiation. We need you to stand behind them.
I do feel bad for these service members because they are U.S. soldiers who are defending the United States, and they're having to do this.
A nuclear
Yep.
warhead to see how they held up. And then they had
Yep.
different buildings and structures
Yeah.
built out of different materials, trying to see which building materials blocked radiation the best and which ones blocked them the worst. Now, when this started, all the bombs that were being detonated off the top of a tower or from a high altitude weather balloon. They were just detonating nuclear warheads into the open atmosphere. What could possibly go wrong?
Terrible idea.
And the important context here is that it's 1957. The world became aware of nuclear weapons 12 years prior at the end of World War II, and
Yep.
a couple years after that, the USSR had their own nuclear weapons. We are well off into the Cold
Yeah.
War, and nuclear hysteria is at an all-time high.
Cold War
by
right
this point in
after
time,
World
the
War II.
American general public doesn't just understand that nuclear weapons make a really
Yeah.
big boom. They also, to some degree, also understand radiation and nuclear fallout. So everybody kind of understands what's going on. At this point.
Kinda.
I mean, they've even got
We don't have the
cartoon turtles
full
teaching
idea.
kids what to do in case a nuclear bomb gets dropped near them.
Duck and cover, which doesn't do
So
anything.
naturally, when everybody finds out the government is
Mostly
strapping
duck.
nukes to balloons and blowing them up in the desert, there's quite a bit of concern, you know,
Of
like,
course.
hey, maybe that's a bad idea. And then everybody finds out this is actually how the government's planning on protecting them from a nuclear strike from the Soviet Union by taking one of our nukes and blowing up the Soviet nuke in the sky right above everybody's heads. Ladies and gentlemen, the Genie air-to-air missile. Okay, you gotta remember, this is the 1950s. There's no intercontinental ballistic missile that can reach from the Soviet Union into America yet. So this
Yet,
means that the only
yes.
nuclear strike risk really comes from Soviet bombers flying into America and dropping their bombs. So we gotta be ready to shoot down these planes, right? Obviously.
Yeah, but they could-
Again, it's the 1950s. There's no sophisticated anti-air systems yet, okay? There's not really any air-to-air
Yeah,
missiles that our fighter
SAMs
jets
or
can
any
shoot
such thing.
accurately. So,
Just
the
gotta
going
need to stay
theory
vigilant.
was that we're going to use this nuclear fucking missile and shoot it at an entire formation of Soviet planes and blow all of them up at once.
I
Okay,
mean,
and on a rudimentary level, this makes
Well,
complete
then.
sense, right?
it's
If
not
you
the
can't be
worst
accurate, you
idea
increase
at the
margin of error.
time,
If you're not good with
but-
shooting a pistol, or maybe grab a shotgun.
Debatable.
I'm saying it's not the worst idea with, like, emphasis on not the worst, because it's definitely not the best. Like, definitely. I'm trying to give them a little credit here, but, you know, they were just seem to be throwing ideas on the wall and seeing what sticks. Like, very
They're throwing
clearly.
nukes to the wall and seeing what doesn't stick.
Saying what doesn't become irradiated. But yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're looking at everything that becomes irradiated and seeing what isn't. Anyway.
Gun, it's easier to hit your target. However, what they've went and done with the Genie missile
Okay,
might be
what
a
is
little
this?
bit of overkill, because what they've essentially said is, well, I'm not very accurate with air-to-air missiles
Oh,
for shooting down
no.
planes, so instead I've opted to create a spawn point for the fucking sun. So naturally, now everyone's absolutely terrified, and the government's like,
Well, then.
guys, calm down. It's going to be completely
They're
fine.
having-
There's no, you know what?
Can I just say, they're having a little too much fun with these nukes. I think the scientists are having a little too much fun creating these weapons and testing this stuff.
I'm sure it's fine.
Because I will admit,
What-
launching...
what's the real problem? Environmental devastation? Nah, I'm sure it'll just...
Like I said, it's not the worst idea, but it's definitely not a good idea. Shooting a nuke into the atmosphere and just having it demolish all the other planes is not a good idea.
just prove it to you. Give me 5 volunteers and a camera guy, but don't tell him what he's doing. On July 19th, 1957, the United States government detonated a Genie air-to-air nuclear missile with a 1.5 kiloton warhead directly above the heads of 5 U.S. service members that volunteered to be there, and a camera guy that was not informed of what he was doing a couple hours before.
What?
I'm out.
Oh, God.
That poor cameraman. At least the soldiers were informed.
You were leaving it in. Been pulling out for years, son.
And in your head, you're probably picturing like 5 dudes in hazmat suits with a welding mask on. No, it's literally 5 bros in their military uniforms.
Yeah, I
standing
expected
in the
that.
middle of the desert with no
Right here.
glasses, making direct eye contact with a nuclear explosion, while one of them is holding a sign that says Ground Zero, Population 5, because
my
that
God.
shit's funny.
Yeah, I knew they wouldn't be wearing anything.
Heat pulse, a very bright light, a fireball. It is red. The sky looks black about it. It is boiling above us there. It is rapid. Lose its color. There is the ground wave. It is over,
Dear
folks.
Lord.
It is tremendous. Directly above our heads. It went.
Okay, now let's just take a minute and appreciate the fact that you've probably just witnessed the most testicular fortitude ever captured on camera.
Yeah.
Secondly, let's also admire the fact
That's
that
insane.
the sign that says Ground Zero, Population 5 is not only funny at face value, but it's hilarious that they only counted the 5 of them in the camera and not the cameraman himself, because even back in 1957, they knew that the cameraman never dies.
I'm actually like Frodo Baggins.
And out of
What?
respect for them being, to the best of my knowledge,
I think
the
I know
only
what movie
6
that's
people
from,
that
but
have
I'm
ever
not sure.
volunteered to have a nuclear warhead dropped directly above their foreheads. I'm going to go ahead and read their names off. The
okay.
cameraman's name is George Yoshitake, and the 5
Oh.
service members are as follows: Colonel Sidney Bruce, Lieutenant Colonel Frank Ball, Major John Hughes,
All of
Major
them are
Norman
officers.
Bodinger, and Don Luttrell. Apparently,
Yeah, well,
the
high
cameraman,
ranking.
Mr. Yoshitake, had filmed a bunch of other nuclear tests in the past, and he thought that this was going to be no different than all the other ones, you know, where he's miles and miles away just filming a mushroom cloud, and he didn't know that they were going to be dropping the
Meanwhile,
bomb directly
miles and
above
miles
him
away.
until like
Meanwhile,
a couple
right
hours
near the
beforehand,
bomb.
and he was already there. After arriving to the test site, he was briefed on what was going to go down, and according to him, he was pretty much completely unfazed. He did not care at all, and he was 100%
Really?
game to partake in this experiment, which I think we can all agree is gangster as fuck.
This is what I picture. What did you picture? I walk in there like a fucking gangster.
And then he goes on to live a normal life until he passed away in 2013 at the age of 84. And the other 5
Wow.
service members that were also involved in this experiment all lived full, happy lives. As far as I could tell, the youngest any of them passed away was 71. And
That's surprising. I'm surprised that any of the
Yeah.
fallout didn't affect them. Or maybe it did in some way and we just didn't know. They live full lives, so I will admit he's not wrong about them having the balls to stand under a nuke while it's exploding in the air above you. I don't think I could ever do such a thing like that. That takes an amazing amount of fortitude. Even for the guy who still just stood there and did the camera thing. Like, just learning just now that that's going to happen and just shrugging and going with it.
Oh, you know what they say. Pay a man to fish and he'll be fed for life.
I don't think that's the saying.
the rest of them all
The
lived
point
in
is,
the 70s.
they
And
probably
while they were
retired
all okay,
wealthy
the
men.
PR stunt itself wasn't really that
Hopefully.
effective because the general public wasn't swayed very much by it. They still wanted them to stop blowing up nuclear bombs all the time. So finally, the U.S. government's like, fine,
I mean,
fine, we will.
I
we'll
can
stop
understand
blowing
why.
up so
It's
many bombs in the
scary.
desert. And the American people are like, and above the desert in the atmosphere. Okay, fine, and above the desert in the atmosphere, and in the ocean. Fine, we won't detonate nuclear
At which
bombs
point
in
the U.S.
ocean.
government called
And
them
that is the
pussies, but
story of how
agreed.
nuclear testing finally came to an end. No, I'm just kidding. The
Yeah.
government then
Yeah,
decided
no.
to opt for
Yeah,
the loophole,
no.
and they were going to bore a 500-foot deep hole in the middle of the desert so that they could blow up a nuke underground because nobody would be mad because people were only mad about on
So
the
they were-
surface, in the atmosphere, and in the
So
ocean.
you just weren't
Surely
gonna tell
blowing
'em,
one up
more or
underground
less.
wouldn't be that
Just
big
gonna
of a deal,
blow it up
right?
underground and not tell them until the groundwater starts making people piss yellow.
What are you doing? I already did
Wait, they're already up.
Just leave me
Piss
alone.
radioactive
Yeah,
green.
From now on.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, another
How
ad?
much are they paying?
Don't worry about it.
Anyways, you guys know the deal by now. It's pretty straightforward. You give Delete Me money, they turn around and they make sure that data brokers on the internet aren't selling your personal information, and after they get it all taken down initially, they continue to monitor it and make sure nobody else starts selling it in the future. So if you're interested, I'll have a link and a discount code down below. Let's keep going. I mean, I'm not an overly smart guy or an explosions expert or anything, but I mean, off the top of my head, I've got some concerns. Primarily, I've seen the cinematic masterpiece Armageddon, where Bruce Willis convinced me that a bunch of dudes that work on an oil rig are easier to
I've never
train
seen this movie, funny
teaching
enough.
astronauts how to drill a fucking hole. I mean, that was the entire premise of the
I've
movie.
seen quite a
Drill
few
hole,
Bruce
stick a
Willis
nuke
movies.
down it, blow the planet you're on in half. I understand 500 feet probably isn't deep enough for that to be realistic, but still, nothing good can come of this. You're gonna like.
I
piss off
don't
King
know.
Kong, unleash
I wouldn't
that
know the
Balrog
math well
thing,
enough
kill
to think if
Gandalf
that's
in Lord of the Rings.
possible.
Something bad is gonna happen. Now,
Figure it out.
luckily, they're not planning on detonating a nuclear warhead in this hole. They're just
Okay.
planning on blowing
Yeah.
it up. And what I mean by that is the premise
What?
of this experiment was basically, remember,
What?
they're worried about the USSR bringing bombers, planes, and
What's the
dropping
difference between
them in
detonate and
America.
blow up?
Planning.
What, that's what I'm wondering. Like, what could the what is the difference? Is there some sort of difference in the chemical react or in the nuclear fusion going on here? I don't know.
On shooting those USSR bombers down. Essentially,
Okay.
they're going to blow up those planes that have a nuclear weapon on board. They want to know what happens when you blow up a nuclear weapon with a conventional type bomb or missile, right?
Okay.
So they're going to stick
That
a
makes
nuclear
sense.
warhead in the hole with another bomb, and they're going to blow up the conventional bomb and see if that blows up the nuclear bomb as
All
well.
right,
Because
that's what
we
they
need to
mean.
know that. And the going theory is that the nuke is not going to explode because nuclear bombs have to be set off in a very particular way, and if they don't get set off in that exact way, there's safety measures that are actually supposed to kill the nuke rather than set it off. But that's all theoretical, and there's only one real way to actually test it, right? You're gonna back up, grab a camera, yell World Star, and see what happens. So that's exactly what they do. July 26, 1957, they have the first underground nuclear test ever, known as Pascal A. Takes them all day to set it up. They gotta lower the device down this hole, they get everything ready. Then, on top of the hole, you know, in case the nuclear bomb does go off, they lower a 5-foot thick slab of concrete that weighs thousands and thousands of pounds.
Makes sense.
And then on top of the hole, they have some kind of lid. I'm not sure what material it was. They didn't say, but sitting on top of the lid, there was a bunch of sensing equipment because remember, they're not expecting a big explosion. They're expecting a really small explosion, and they want to get as much data from it as possible. So they have
you need to get
sensors and
as
cameras
much data
aimed
as you
down the
can.
hole through this lid. And I will now let the head scientist in charge, Bob Brownlee, take the story from here. And I quote, "They finally got it down the hole, by my recollection, about 10 o'clock at night or so. There wasn't much time to go back to Mercury, go to bed, get up the next morning and shoot it. So somebody said, why don't we just shoot it now and then go in? And it was the world's finest Roman candle because at night it was all visible. Blue fire shot hundreds of feet into the air. Everybody was down in the area, and then they all jumped up, jumped in their cars, and drove like crazy, not even counting who was there and who came out of the air. So the safety equipment didn't work. The nuclear part went off, generating an explosion about 50,000 times bigger than
So,
they
of
were
course, everyone
anticipating.
ran away.
Apparently, the explosion was so
Run
large
away!
that seismic equipment from all over the world could sense
Oh
this
my
explosion.
God!
You know, seismic equipment
Well,
being the shit they use to
yeah.
detect earthquakes. Another scientist that
Strong
was
enough to
present
make
described it
earthquakes.
as, and I quote, "the biggest damn Roman candle you ever saw. It was beautiful. Big
I'm
blue
sorry.
glow in the sky." And because of this, the United
Roman
States government
candles
comes to the
spin.
realization,
What the fuck was the explosion doing?
I don't know, but it was turning the sky blue. So that's a thing.
Oh, sorry for the noises. I was falling out of my chair. One of the wheels broke.
It's fine. Anyway. Back to it and back to this. I don't know what they were... Like, I know they were expecting it not to go off, but still, you have to be prepared for the worst. And they doesn't seem like they were ready while everyone was running off.
okay, maybe underground nuclear testing isn't that great of it. I'm just fucking with you guys.
They do it
redid
again.
the exact same experiment like a month later, August 27th,
Of course.
1957. And they didn't really change a whole lot about the experiment. They took the device, they stuck it down the hole, they put thousands of pounds of concrete directly on top of it, and then the only thing they did change was instead of whatever lid they were using before that they could like put sensors through and shit, they went and tried to control the explosion by getting a 2,000-pound manhole cover, and then they welded it shut over the top of the hole. hole.
Okay.
They took the best high-speed
I feel like
camera
that's
they
good.
made and aimed it at the manhole cover, because if the safety device failed again, whatever happens to the manhole cover was, and I quote, scientifically interesting. AKA, they're just doing Mythbusters shit with DOD.
Pretty much.
So they detonate the bomb, the safety device fails, the nuclear portion goes off.
I feel like
in
it's gonna shoot
hindsight,
into
what
the air.
happened is when you have a nuclear bomb go off with thousands
Yeet!
of pounds of concrete directly on top of it, that
Yep.
concrete is instantly vaporized and turned into
Spicy.
gas, and then that gas is also instantly superheated, and superheated gas
Okay.
expands a lot, and this is an enclosed environment because they welded the manhole cover shut. If you're not picking up what I'm putting down, the scientists just inadvertently turned the planet into a fucking potato gun and launched this 2,000-pound manhole cover.
Yeah, that's what I
into
thought
outer
was gonna
space.
happen. That's why I thought it was gonna happen. Even if it's welded shut. Oh my god.
So all the scientists and pros start asking the question that everybody wants an answer to. How
We're
fast do
gonna
you think
we
that manhole
sparked
cover was-
intergalactic war with that.
I wouldn't be that surprised. Honestly, like I said, it doesn't matter if you weld it shut. I knew if there's only one way for that much energy to go, it was going to go through that manhole cover, whether you wanted it to or not.
going. So they go to the high-speed camera. Okay, this camera is taking 1 frame per 1,000th of a second. Okay, it's a lot of fucking pictures. The manhole cover appears in one singular frame. And so because it was only captured by a single frame and not multiple frames, they can't calculate how far it was traveling over a period of time. So all they can calculate is the minimum speed that it would have to be going to only be captured by a single frame in the span of the camera
minimum
shot.
speed.
And the calculation they came up with was that manhole cover was moving at least 150,000 miles an hour. That is Mach 195. It is 195 times faster than the speed of sound.
Well,
and the best part about all this is that this happened prior to Sputnik 1, meaning that if this manhole cover made it into outer space, it was the first man-made object to ever make it into outer space.
Which is still insane.
Into outer space, it would have burnt up in the atmosphere just like meteorites do. Oh shit, you're right. I completely forgot that every single meteorite that's ever come into the Earth's atmosphere is burnt up completely and never actually makes it to the ground. I'll be right back. I've got to go tell all the dinosaurs to stand up and quit being babies, because clearly...
Yeah, like I said before, like, not everything burns up, but it is possible that it could have, but it is possible that it could have made it.
This is completely different from a meteorite for multiple reasons. For one, a meteorite's never been made out of 2,000 pounds of refined steel. For two, a meteorite's moving at about 30,000 miles an hour when it collides with the Earth's atmosphere.
Like, it could have been broken into pieces into the atmosphere due to the, the speed.
Up, okay? This thing made it to outer space in a second. Even friction was like, what the fuck was that? Thirdly, the collision with the atmosphere is nothing like
broke
a
the sound
right?
barrier.
A meteorite is a rock traveling through the vacuum of outer space with no other forces acting upon it, and it collides with Earth's atmosphere, and then it gets slowed down and it gets burnt up. Okay? The manhole cover isn't just moving at 150,000 miles an hour through the atmosphere. It is being propelled by a channeled nuclear explosion with all of the gases, aka the atmosphere behind it, also moving 150,000 miles an hour in the same direction.
Yes, science!
Okay, and just to be clear, I'm not saying that I'm correct. I'm simply saying I'm incredibly ill-equipped to answer this question accurately, and no offense, but there's about a 99.999% chance that you are too. So my verdict,
I mean, you're not wrong,
is going to be that it's still up in the air.
It's more like
horrible dad joke. I'm sorry. Moving on. Now,
it was all right. I will give you that one. It was all right.
Above ground and in the atmosphere until 1963, when they signed a treaty with the Soviet Union and Great Britain that the only nuclear testing allowed was going to be underground. Now, fast forward again a couple of decades, and people's concerns over atmospheric nuclear bomb detonations turned out to be 100% legitimate because a ton of people ended up having elevated risks of cancer. Both the 18,000 soldiers that were present at Operation Plumbob had highly elevated likelihoods of developing leukemia and thyroid cancer, as well as thousands of civilians that were living in towns near the test sites. And I know what you're thinking. How come those people got cancer, but the guys that literally stood
because wind blows.
Detonated,
quite literally.
The way that nuclear radiation works is that it dissipates pretty quickly over like 2 to 3 days and then it's completely gone. Which is why, like, all the old videos and protocols telling you what to do in case of a nuclear attack always told you, you know, duck and cover from the initial blast wave and then make your way inside and stay inside for like a week. After that, the radiation has decayed enough that it shouldn't hurt you. So the guys that were exposed to that bomb directly overhead
radiation
were
is a
exposed to
knife.
it for presumably
Oh my God.
10, 15 minutes before they dipped and left, whereas a lot of these soldiers were exposed to...
Yeah, it makes sense that
explosions.
they were doing this shit in Nevada.
Yeah, quite literally, like a desert.
I've been to Nevada. There's nothing. There's Vegas, and there's nothing.
Like I said, it's a big... Well, it's not that
It's
big of
just
a desert.
flat.
Like I said, it's a big open... Well, it's not that big of a desert, but it's still a pretty
I've
big
seen a
desert.
neighborhood in Nevada, and it still looks like the middle of buttfuck nowhere.
Yeah. But
Just
yeah.
how much space there is between all the houses.
One of my guesses is also...
I considered moving there for the space, but then I realized the kind of people I'd be neighbors with.
Yeah.
Over and over again, or these towns, the explosions would go up.
No offense to Nevada.
The radiation would be caught in the wind.
Exactly, like I said, it would be caught in the wind and move.
Radiation for days, over and over and over again over the course of years, hundreds of nuclear detonations exposing these people to radiation. Now, fast forward like 3 decades to 1990, the United States government, with its infinite charity and outstanding moral compass, finally decides they're going to pass the Radiation Exposure Compensation Act, where they're going to pay these people that were wrongfully exposed to radiation due to their negligence. If you got cancer and you could prove that it was because of them, they would go ahead and
if you could
give
prove
you $75,000 in one lump sum if you were a soldier on the ground, or if you were an innocent civilian just living your life in a town miles and miles away, they would give you $50,000. There's no other legal course that you could take. You can't sue them for more. You can't reject it. Just, here's what I'm going to give you. Fuck off.
Yeah.
How about I give you the finger?
It's
Okay, just
incredibly
so we're on the
fucked
same page
up.
with this. The United States government takes your tax money, whether you want them to or not. You don't get an option. They're taking your money, okay? They then turned that money into radiation that they used to poison Americans with and give them cancer. Then, 30 years after the fact, they decided, you know what? We should make things right by giving the people that survived this long and can actually prove it was our fault, we'll give them like 50 grand. Bear in mind, that 50 grand is also money that was tax money that they took. So they took your money, used it to poison you, and then to pay you off, they gave you some of your money back.
I'm from the government, and I'm here to help.
Can you understand how absolutely...
Yeah, like they said, that one of the biggest... You've heard that saying, right? That one of the scariest lines is, I am from the government, and I am here to help.
Oh, no. My dad always said that's one of the biggest lies.
Not wrong. Unfortunately, yeah.
That said, I'm a contractor for the government. I'm here to help.
Crazy that is. Imagine somebody walked up to somebody on the street and was like, hey, give me all the money in your wallet or I'm going to throw you in a cage for years against your will. And you're like, okay. And you give them all the money in your wallet. They turn around, they go buy brass knuckles, come back, and then punch you in the face.
But yeah, those people definitely deserved more.
And then they look
at
down
the
at you
very
and like,
least.
Oh, I really hurt you. My bad. And then they get into your pocket, find another $20 bill, pull that $20 bill out of your pocket, and then hand it back to you to pay you off for punching you in the face.
It's BS. We all know it is.
Learn that the government is a greedy piglet that suckles on a taxpayer's teat until they have sore, chapped nipples.
I gotta end this video. I feel radical.
I understand the importance of taxes. I just wish they're being allocated better.
This is the story of 6 crazy bastards that volunteered to have a nuclear bomb detonated directly.
Yeah, those guys were crazy.
At that time that America may have accidentally launched a manhole cover into outer space, potentially becoming the first man-made object.
I still think it's funny that we launched a manhole cover of all things, possibly into space.
Giving them cancer, and basically had no consequences for it whatsoever. Thanks for watching. Best way to support the channel is go buy some merch over at thefatelectrician.com. Quack.
It does have some cool designs, though.
Yep.
So, what did you think of that?
I think that sounds about right.
Yeah, unfortunately. Like I said, like, whenever I give a tired sigh, I'm just, yeah, the government is like that. I can't, it's not like I can do anything really like that, but yeah. I wish they weren't, but yeah. Anyway. thank all of you so much for coming by. If you like our dumb ramblings, you know, like, comment, subscribe, do all that nice stuff. I'm gonna go pass out because work has been killing me.
Stay safe. Hugs.
And I am still sick, so, yeah. Thank you all so much, and we'll see you later.